Hello, I'm Juliana, and today I'm going to be filming a Court of Wings and Ruins Crackpot Theories video. So if you saw my last video, which was a review for A Court of Mist and Fury, it has become one of my favorite books of all time, and I'm so excited for the next book, which is coming out in less than a month, in a couple of weeks now. So, I have watched videos, I have done my research on the internet, and I am so excited to bring you some of my favorite ACOWAR theories. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is Ianthe. So the most obvious and probably canon theory out there is that Ianthe is pregnant. So Sarah confirmed that Calanmai happened in A Court of Mist and Fury, and we weren't there to see it. When Feyre's not around, obviously Tamlin can't do this stuff with her. So who do you think is going to step in? I didn't talk about this in the last video. I didn't talk about it specifically. But at Feyre's wedding, when there was red, and I said this is all part of Ianthe's plan, that is because Ianthe didn't actually want Feyre to go through marrying Tamlin. She knew this would trigger a panic attack in Feyre's head, which is why she did it. Because Rhys talks about later in the book why he doesn't trust Ianthe is because she tried to lure him into having a child with her, and he says that some of the high priestesses are like this, but Ianthe is the worst. So I think that it was always Ianthe's plan to make sure that Feyre and Tamlin didn't happen, and now she is pregnant with Tamlin's baby. She is pregnant with the baby of a high fae, which is exactly what she wanted. This theory is basically confirmed. I don't think I've seen a single video where this isn't a theory that exists, so as much as I don't like it, it's probably going to happen. I hope I'm right. Another thing that this theory does for the story is it's hard to argue that Tamlin may be faced with death in this book, and honestly, a lot of people want him to. And Sarah has confirmed that Tamlin will get a chance at redemption in this book. Whether or not he chooses to take it is something we don't know. So I feel like Tamlin will die in this book. It's almost inevitable, and this will leave a heir to become the high fae of the spring court, because right now if Tamlin dies, who does it become? And here's another theory, and this one has to do with Lucien. So if Tamlin dies, and for some reason Ianthe and the baby die, which Ianthe needs to die, whether or not she has the baby first, I don't really care. But if she does, obviously, the baby can't be High Lord right away. It's a freaking baby. But it will become eventually. So I think that in this book, when Feyre joins Tamlin, going to see the other courts, which once again, that has been confirmed, we're going to see the other courts. Everyone's super excited about the Dawn Court and the Winter Court especially, including myself. I love winter. It's when I was born. But the Autumn Court is something I'm very interested about because we're probably going to see how Tamlin interacts with Lucien's parents, and Lucien probably won't come. But I do think that while Feyre is there, I have it here, I think that while Feyre is on these missions with Tamlin, she's going to try and create alliances with them behind his back, and I think she's going to have to use Rhys's gift that she has acquired when she was reborn of mind control on Tamlin. I think this is also a way to prevent her from having to do anything sexual with Tamlin and Ianthe being pregnant, although I think Ianthe will glamour that for as long as she can, I think. I'm not sure though. And I think she's going to try and assassinate the High Lord of the Autumn Court, or at least do something to him while she's there for Lucien's sake. So, should he die, Lucien will obviously go back and become the High Lord of the Autumn Court. I don't think it's even a question at this point in time. And he will have an alliance with Rhys, and it'll all be fine. But, getting back to my original baby Ianthe theory, I think that Ianthe's child, until it is full grown, or if it dies when Ianthe dies, because it better freaking happen, Sarah. She better die in this book. Then Lucien, who is kind of, I forget the technical term, but I think he's like Tamlin's like first lieutenant, his next in line. I don't know, like his best soldier, his head of everything. So I think Lucien will become the High Lord of the Spring Court, and possibly both the High Lord of the Spring Court and the Autumn Court at the same time, which would be freaking crazy, and would also help deal with this issue of Hybern soldiers coming in through the Spring Court. This is another reason I think Tamlin will die, because if Tamlin dies, then they have kind of a loophole that the King of Hybern can no longer enter through the Spring Court, because the person he made the deal with is dead and no one else agrees with him. Speaking of Feyre and Tamlin going around to the other courts, I also believe that they are going to revisit the Summer Court, and Feyre is going to be able to mend things with Tarquin, who, in case you forgot, they sent her the blood rubies for stealing their half of the Book of Breathings. So I think that she's going to be able to fix that relationship, which is going to be incredibly crucial during this wartime. I think Tarquin is going to be onto her plan with Tamlin, and I honestly don't think he's going to care, and I think that might be exactly what changes the tide, is once if Feyre uses her mind control on Tamlin while they're going on these missions, she's going to tell the other High Lords what he's doing, and this might be what reconciles Tarquin and Feyre and Rhys's relationship, because he will know why they stole it, and he will also need to be on her side to stop Hybern from invading Prythian. So yeah, I'm really hoping that they mend that. I really liked Tarquin, even though I kind of mentioned in my book talk that I found him a bit hypocritical, but he really was a sweet character, and I really am looking forward to seeing how that dynamic plays out in this book. Also, while we are still in the Spring Court, while we are still with Tamlin, I don't think we're going to stay there for more than 150 pages. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't checked how long this book is going to be. I just hope it's really long, longer than the last book, because the last book I still didn't have enough, and it was like 600, 700 pages. But I also think that while we're in the Spring Court, that we're going to find out more about Rhys's family, because there are theories out there that Rhys's sister is alive. I agree with the fact that his mother is dead, but the theory that Rhys's sister is alive just kind of stuck to me, and it might exist out there. I haven't seen it before, but we all know that Tamlin has the ability to change other people into animals. I think that Tamlin has mated. When he went to kill Rhys's sister, he mated on Rhys's sister, and to protect her, turned her into an animal and brought her back to the Spring Court. And there's the whole argument where, oh, then whose head was that in the stream with her mom? I think it was in a stream they sent to Rhys. But it could quite easily be faked, honestly, and I think that this is a theory I haven't seen before, and it makes a lot of sense, because Tamlin wants to protect her, but at the same time, he can't really be with her. Does that make any sense? And that's why Tamlin couldn't kill her when he went to do so with his dad. His dad and him must have went to kill the mother, but he must have not been able to kill her, which is why he transformed her to protect her. And I think this will be so sweet if it's true. I really hope that his sister is alive, because Rhys will finally have part of the family that he misses so much back. And I can't wait, if it's true, to see her and Feyre's relationship and how they get along. I think it'll be so sweet. And so I'm super excited for that. I also think that while we are in the Spring Court, we might see part 3 of the serial. I think it's inevitable we'll see the serial at least once more in this book, so once in each book. And he is going to tell us how to destroy the cauldron and or defeat Hybern, hopefully both. And I just really hope we see the serial again. I like the story arc of the serial, how at first it was the chicken and it hated Feyre and it saved its life, and the second time he dropped that mate bombshell that we all loved so much, and we need to see the serial again, and that has to be how we defeat the King of Hybern, because that guy is crazy and he needs to die in this book. So while Feyre is in the Spring Court, I do think until she gets back, we'll see from both Rhys and Feyre's perspective, like we did for the last chapters of the previous book. And in Rhys's side, while Feyre's in the Spring Court, from Rhys's perspective, I think we will see more about the training of the female Illyrians. I think Cassian's going to be okay. his wings. I pray to Lord will be fine, because if not, I couldn't deal with that. But even if they're not alright, I think that there's going to be some sort of training with the female Valyrians. I pray that Cassian's wings are going to be okay. Azriel's going to be fine. I think we already confirmed in the last book that Azriel was fine, and that was just something that King of Hybern had, and as soon as he released them, that was good. I'm not 100% sure whether or not the track has been lifted off of Rhys. I talked about it in my book talk, because if it hasn't been released off of Rhys, he talked about how if he doesn't release some of his power, it will overwhelm him and possibly kill and destroy him. And him being the most powerful lord in Prithian history, I imagine how dangerous that power could be if he doesn't get it out, if he isn't able to get it out. I pray to God Velaris won't be attacked again, because I don't think I'd emotionally be able to handle it, especially without Feyre there to help them. And I don't think it's going to happen, but should there be a huge battle in Prithian, that will be where it takes place. I think the King of Hybern will kind of use that as a low blow against Rhys, and think that everyone is setting up in the Spring Court for this war where they're going to enter and then just destroy Velaris, because they already know where it is. So, in this book, Mor finally has to figure out her romantic feelings. There's a theory that Mor and Azriel are mates, but that Mor declined, I think is the word, the mating bond, refused the mating bond. But I don't believe this for a second, because Feyre and Mor had that talk, and Mor was like, I don't think Azriel would ever want to do anything. I think you're mistaken. So I really don't think that she would do that, and I do believe that Mor has deep feelings for Azriel, and that she wouldn't reject the mating bond. What I think has happened, because we'd never had, I talked about the confusion with the mating bond in my book talk, where does the female get that click too, like it was described with Rhys's mother? Or does the male get it, and then the female just has to accept the bond? Because if that's what happened, I think that Azriel has had the mating bond click in with Mor, but he has not told her. He's been too afraid to tell her. And that's my theory on what's happening. And as soon as he finally gets the courage to tell her, hopefully not on his deathbed, I can't take it if Azriel will die. I know that someone in our inner circle will most likely die, and I just really hope it's not him, but I feel like Mor will accept the bond, and it'll come out that they are mates. Hopefully, they'll be able to be together. Amren, I have some kick-ass theories on Amren. So first of all, I have the theory that she is a dragon, because we don't exactly know what she is. All we know is that she's super powerful. I couldn't exactly understand what her power was when they were attacking Velaris, except that she was just like freaking killing people, which was sick. But I think they also mentioned she was like, maybe this was Feyre, burning them from the inside out, which would make sense if she were a dragon with the power of fire. Another thing that clicks into place with this dragon theory is the treasure, how Amren loves to collect necklaces and things that are valuable. She might just enjoy the finer things in life, but this is a trait that's very common in dragons in myths. The best example of this would probably be Smaug in The Hobbit / Lord of the Rings. And her blood obsession, I feel like dragons are predators, so this would make sense. Like, they would, in myths, they eat people, and they eat animals, and blood makes sense to me. I don't know why, but it does. Also, I think that we're going to finally find out what Amren is for sure in that final battle, and if she is a dragon, that's when her form will finally be exposed, and that's going to be epic. Also, Sarah has said that one of these characters in this world is getting a spin-off series, and for me, I think that's going to be Amren. I think Amren is finally going to crack the code on the Book of Breathings, and this is finally going to be how we destroy the cauldron, but she's also going to be able to go back home. And whether or not she chooses to, I'm not sure. She might want to go back home, she might return, but I think that whatever happens here, it's going to be her story we follow in the spin-off. Either that or Nesta. And yeah, we're getting there. We're talking about Nesta and Elaine. here we go. Unfortunately, despite my best efforts, I couldn't find the Cassian Nesta chapter. Maybe I didn't look in the right spot, I don't know, but I couldn't find it. So I don't have anything from there to work off of. If any of you have the link to that or pictures, feel free to DM me on Instagram. It'll be down below in the little word thing. And also just send me the link in the comments down below, because I am extremely desperate to read that and find out what happens there. But in the last book, when Nesta came out of the cauldron, unlike Elaine, so both of them came out Fae, immediately Elaine and Lucien mated. And I think this is going to be why Lucien kind of but allies with the Night Court and all the other courts against Tamlin. And this will break Lucien. It's going to be one of the hardest things he ever has to do, betraying Tamlin. But for Elaine, his mate, he has to do it. And I think Elaine will be normal Fae. I don't think she'll have any special powers, but I think that Nesta will. I think that Nesta will either have some sort of special power, or she'll be Illyrian. Either her wings haven't happened, like come out of her yet, or she has them tucked in and she'll let them kind of expand at some point. I don't know really, but I'm kind of hoping she's Illyrian, and I think that she'll go to the female Illyrian training camp, which is why that theory for me is something so strong that has to happen, that they need to be trained, and they're going to be the ones that kind of lead the charge and kick ass in the war, and I'm super excited for that. I think that Cassian and Nesta, as hard as they're shipped, I'm not sure whether or not they'll be mates. It's not a 100% thing for me like it is for most people. I think that would just be too convenient that Nesta, Elaine, and Feyre all found their mates within less than a year of immortal life, whereas some of these people, like Rhys, for example, didn't find their mate for 500 years. Maybe it's just wishful thinking, maybe it's just luck, maybe, I'm not sure. I'm really not. But I don't think they'll be mates. If they are, some people are questioning, like, well, maybe Cassian would have mentioned it in the end because Lucien mated on Elaine right away. But if you remember, Cassian's wings, I believe, had already been shredded, or he was super distracted. I'm not 100% sure. I don't have the book with me, so I couldn't really review everything. So it's only the notes and stuff and information from my book talk that I have to go off of for A Court of Mist and Fury, and other people's information that I was able to find. So I'm not 100% sure, but I really don't think they're going to end up being mates, even though I ship them so hard, as I know so many of you guys do. So yeah, that kind of sucks, but there's always hope. It always could happen, and I really hope it does. I'm not sure where exactly they're being held. I think Mor said she brought them up to that cabin, or she brought them somewhere safe. And I hope that Rhys goes and talks to them, and that's something we see almost right away in the book, especially if we're seeing from his perspective, instead of just leaving them there with their new Fae bodies, trapped, alone, isolated, scared, all of those things. And I think that that's really what's going to win them over. Nesta especially, because even though Nesta knew as soon as Feyre walked in the door with Rhys that she loved him and they were mates, and even though she didn't understand that bond yet, she understood. But I think this will really be what sells them. I think that if Rhys does have a sister, she's going to be a lot like Nesta, and they're going to butt heads, but they're going to become best friends. Elaine is going to love Rhys' sister just as much as she loves Nesta, because they're so similar. I think that once they're reunited, once all the crap has gone down, Feyre and Rhys will finally get married and have their mating bond officiated. I don't know if they did that when they got there, when she became the High Lady of the Night Court. That's going to come into play somehow, but I'm not 100% sure. And I don't know if it's when we destroy the cauldron, or when exactly, after the war has already begun, but I think the wall between the humans and the Fae has to come down, at least on Prithian. I don't know if it's attached to the wall on the other continent. I don't know if we're going to see more of the other continent. I hope we do. I hope we call them in for reinforcements, because we're going to need all the help we can get against this dick king. And honestly, these are all just theories. I have no clue what's actually going to happen. If you have any theories, I'd be so interested to hear them. So make sure to let me know down below in the comments. I am Juliana. I'm so excited for this book to come out. I hope you guys are too. I love you all. Bye.